There has been no shortage of uproar over some of the shady practices that are being implemented into the upcoming Middle-earth Shadow of War. The most controversial of which is the fact that despite being primarily a single-player game, it will include loot chests that grant you XP boosts as well as weapons, armor, and orc followers of varying rarity. Not only are these loot chests completely randomized in terms of what you get out of them, they can only be obtained by spending in-game currency called gold, which you can purchase with real money or painstakingly earn in-game. This whole system is a bit like cheat codes that you have to gamble for. Basically, the game will implement all of the worst aspects of the dreaded microtransaction system. This would be a lot easier to overlook if it wasn't for the fact that microtransactions in this game do give certain players a distinct advantage over others. In case you didn't know, it was recently announced that Shadow of War will feature a ranked online multiplayer component called Social Conquest, which works a lot like Phantom Pain's FOB system. In Shadow of War, you fortify a captured base by assigning orc followers as overlords and captains to defend it. You can then post this customized base online to challenge others to load into an instance of this base and assault it with their own army. You can also choose to be the attacker and load into an instance of another player's custom fortified base to assault it with your own army. Now, there are two ways to play Social Conquest, friendly and ranked. There are no real consequences in friendly, but in ranked, the game will rank you based on your assault rating, which rises or falls with each success or failure. It's also worth noting that in ranked Social Conquests, any orc followers that die during the attacking player's assault will remain permanently dead. This actually could have been a cool feature if it weren't ruined by the fact that the game allows you to pay your way to victory. The more gold you purchase, the quicker you can obtain better weapons and armor, resupply your orc followers, and level your character. Let's not mince words. What we're looking at here is a classic case of pay to win, which goes against their promise that gold would not give you any advantage over other players. So yeah, if you purchase Shadow of War, you've got a shitty microtransaction system and a pay to win ranked multiplayer mode to look forward to. Now, you might be thinking things couldn't possibly get worse than this, right? Well, Shadow of War publisher Warner Bros. Games decides to take dishonesty to the next level with their most recent fiasco. But first, a little context. 2 years ago, on May 20th, 2015, Middle-earth Shadow of War producer Michael David Forgey was unfortunately diagnosed with a form of cancer called glioblastoma. After bravely fighting cancer for 1 year, he finally, sadly, passed away on March 3rd, 2016. To immortalize his memory, the Monolith development team did something really cool and created a character in his honor, an orc named Forthog Orcslayer. Even cooler is the idea of releasing this character as a charity DLC, the details of which can be found at the end of the Forthog Orcslayer trailer. Essentially, every purchase of the DLC will contribute to donations for the Forgey family to help them through these difficult times. Yes, something feels a little off about memorializing a man through downloadable content instead of just putting him in the game, but if it's for a charitable cause, then it's all good, right? I wish I could say that, but unfortunately, there is a catch to all of this, starting with the fact that although the Forthog Orcslayer DLC costs $5, Warner Bros. Is only donating $3.50 for each one sold. Which leaves one wondering, of course, why aren't they donating the full $5? Where is the remaining $1.50, which is a significant 30%, I might add, going to? From where I'm standing, there are two possibilities. One, Warner Bros. Is pocketing 30% of all DLC donations, in which case, that would be wrong on so many levels. Can you imagine if someone came to you and said, listen, my friend passed away recently and I'm raising money to help out his family. I'll be keeping 30% of the donations, but don't worry, the rest will go to a good cause. How shady and horrible does that sound? Now, a second possibility is that 30% of donations are going towards platform fees, which is the fee that you pay for the right to release and distribute game content on a platform. It just so happens that 30% of revenue is the standard fee that game developers pay to online game distributors like Steam. So it is entirely possible that 70% of your donation is going to the Forgey family, while the remaining 30% is going towards allowing the Forthog DLC to be distributed. Unfortunately, Warner Brothers has been tight-lipped about where that 30% is going, so we cannot be sure. And unsure is the last thing you want to be when you're giving away money. Who's to say that Warner Brothers didn't strategically choose to pocket 30% of the charity, so we think to ourselves that it's just platform fees. I'm not saying that's what it is, but until they fully disclose how that 70-30 split works, we just don't know. But you know what? Let's be optimistic and just assume that it's platform fees. I wish I could say that would be the end of it, but this next part is pretty damning stuff. What many of you may not have noticed towards the end of the charity DLC video is the fine print at the bottom, which contains very important information regarding your donations. It says, donations will be made on purchases from any one of the 50 United States or DC, but excluding purchases made from Alabama, Hawaii, Illinois, Massachusetts, Mississippi, and South Carolina. What this means is that if you purchase the DLC in any one of these 6 states or anywhere outside of the US, then Warner Brothers will take all $5 of your donation and pocket at least $3.50 of it. Further confirmation of this can be found on the Shadow of War official Twitter. When asked if purchases of this DLC from Canada wouldn't count towards donations, they confirmed that this is correct. Now, I get that these restrictions might have something to do with certain laws and regulations that vary from state to state or from country to country, and that's understandable. But what I can't get behind is the way that Warner Brothers chose to disclose this vital information. How shady do you have to be to convey something so important like this? Something that will affect people's decision to purchase this DLC as fine print placed at the bottom of the video. I can only imagine how many people missed the fine print and purchased this $5 DLC thinking that it was going to a good cause, when in fact most of it is going straight into shitty Warner Brothers' already big pockets. What Warner Brothers is doing here is straight up profiting from a dead man's memorial under the guise of charity. They're taking advantage of this awful situation to make a little extra money on the side. This is not okay, not in the least bit. I am all for charities, but if they're going to ask us to donate money, they need to do it from an honest place. There needs to be trust and fellowship on both sides. It's a two-way street. And hiding vital information that affects our ability to donate through fine print is not the way to do that. Knowingly selling the memorial of a man under the guise of charity and profiting off of all this is not the way to do that. It's deplorable, and it only disincentivizes people from donating to an otherwise good cause, not out of apathy for the family, but out of distrust of the dishonest corporation. On the bright side, Warner Brothers' questionable charity practices aside, at least the Forthog DLC, even if much of that revenue will be going to the publisher, will still raise a significant sum of money that will help the Forgy family. That certainly does amount for something, and we can't lose sight of what the ultimate goal is here. So long as you're informed and do this in the right state and country, you could go ahead and contribute by purchasing the $5 Forthog Orcslayer DLC. It's still a sizable donation that will go towards the charity, and you get the perk of being able to see Forgy's memory live on in your game through this awesome Forthog Orcslayer character, which is kinda neat. But if you don't live in the right state or country, or if you're like me and don't trust what Warner Brothers will do with 30% of your donations, or if you just feel icky about the idea of selling a dead man's memorial as a product to profit from, there is a better way to help. If you go to this website, which I've linked in the description and comments below, you can donate an amount of your choice directly to the Forgy family. Sure, you won't get the cool Forthog Orcslayer DLC, but charities aren't about receiving, they're about giving. Plus, no weird hoops and loops to jump through and no shady publisher getting in the way. You can safely rest knowing that all of your donation will go to the cause and not to some sleazy big corporation. It's also worth noting that this website is a way to support the Forgy family without purchasing Shadow of War. This is for those who intend to protest how Warner Brothers is forcing Monolith to implement detrimental features like microtransactions, loot boxes, and pay-to-win ranked multiplayer into an otherwise great-looking game. I can almost guarantee you that this stuff wasn't up to Monolith, who just want to make a great game. This is all Warner Brothers and their avarice at play. And before you argue that these features are no big deal because they're optional, Just remember that a purchase of Shadow of War is still an endorsement towards these practices. If we keep making them feel safe and like they can get away with stuff like this, they'll keep implementing microtransactions, loot boxes, and pay-to-win features, and I guarantee you that as time goes by, they'll become less and less optional. If this keeps on, one day you'll wake up to find that the practice of skewing a game's progression, difficulty, level design, and mechanics to coerce players into shelling out extra cash is commonplace. That's how DLCs, pre-order bonuses, season pass, so on and so forth have become standard now. They steadily pulled one over our eyes as we kept arguing it's just optional. So either we stop it now or we let them get away with it until it becomes commonplace and it really becomes detrimental to our games and to the industry as a whole. So support and donate to the family of the former Shadow of War producer Michael Forgey. Endorse Monolith's passion for making games and oppose Warner Brothers and similar entities for their forced implementation of shady business practices and charity practices. My condolences to the Forgey family. I hope you get through this. And my condolences to the Monolith team for losing a teammate. Kudos to Monolith for honoring and memorializing their comrade. Shame on you, Warner Brothers, for trying to profit off of charity and someone's passing. What the fuck is wrong with you? And finally, fuck cancer. With that, I would like to end this news update and discussion video. Thank you for tuning in. The immediate concern right now, I think, is to be considerate of the Forgey family, so if you would like to donate to them directly, just follow the link in the description or comments below. And to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out!